In the freezing snow, a tiny puppy threw himself in front of a police car, crying and clawing at the officer's leg. But when he followed the desperate little dog into the snow, he uncovered a scene so heartbreaking it would leave everyone who heard the story in tears. The sky was still dark when Officer Reynolds pulled out of the station lot, his breath fogging the inside of the cruiser's windshield. Snowflakes drifted past the headlights and steady curtains, blanketing the pine trees and winding road ahead. It was the kind of morning when most people stayed indoors, but Duty didn't pause for winter. He sipped lukewarm coffee as the radio crackled with routine updates. His tires crunched over the ice-glazed asphalt, the patrol car moving cautiously through the silent world. Just past mile marker 27, something small caught his eye. A dark shape huddled on the shoulder, nearly invisible against the snow. His pulse quickened. He eased the car to a stop, flipping on the blue lights as he leaned closer to the window. At first he thought it was a discarded bundle of clothing, but then it moved. A tiny German Shepherd puppy stood up, trembling so hard its legs barely held. Its fur was soaked through, ears pinned back in fright. The puppy looked straight at him, and for a moment, neither moved. Reynolds felt a pang of dread. No tracks around it, no sign of a human nearby. He knew what that usually meant. Abandonment. He turned off the engine and took a slow breath. Somewhere in that desolate stretch of snow this little life had been left alone, and something about the way it stared at him, eyes wide, pleading, told him this was only the beginning of the story. Officer Reynolds stepped out into the biting wind, his boots crunching across the ice as he approached the trembling puppy. Snow clung to its whiskers and eyelashes, and its tiny chest heaved with each ragged breath. "Hey there, little one," he called softly, careful not to startle it. The puppy took one tentative step back, then stopped, its eyes locked on his, filled with something more urgent than fear, desperation. Slowly, he knelt in the snow, extending a gloved hand. "It's all right. I'm not going to hurt you," he whispered. The puppy whimpered and shuffled forward, close enough for him to see that its paws were cracked and bleeding from the cold. But instead of collapsing into his arms, it did something that made his heart lurch. It grabbed the cuff of his uniform pants in its small teeth and tugged. Surprised, Reynolds let it pull him a few steps forward. The puppy released his pant leg and bounded ahead through the drifts, then stopped and turned to look back at him. Its whole body seemed to plead, "Follow me." Reynolds swallowed hard, scanning the tree line. The puppy let out a high, urgent bark and ran a few more yards before glancing back again. He knew then this wasn't about rescue from the cold. The puppy was trying to show him something or someone. With a deep breath, he unhooked the radio from his belt. "Dispatch," he said, voice steady. "I'm going to investigate further." The puppy plunged ahead through the snow, stopping every few paces to be sure Reynolds was still behind him. His small body was nearly swallowed by the drifts, but he didn't hesitate. Whatever he was leading the officer to was too important to give up. They rounded a bend in the road where the trees grew thicker. The wind howled through the pines, carrying flurries of powder across the clearing. Reynolds's breath caught as he spotted a shape half buried in the snow, barely visible in the dim morning light. An adult German shepherd lay on her side, her breathing shallow, her eyes half closed, blood stained the snow around. Her front leg, and a strip of torn cloth, had been clumsily wrapped around the wound. She looked up weakly as they approached, her ears twitching. "Oh no," Reynolds murmured, dropping to his knees beside her. Gently, he brushed the snow away from her face. Her gaze was dull, but aware, and when she saw the puppy, she let out a broken whine that made his heart ache. The puppy rushed to her side and curled up against her, pressing his tiny body to her chest as if to share what little warmth he had left. She shifted her head just enough to lick his ear. Reynolds swallowed the lump in his throat. Someone must have tried to help her and failed. Or maybe she'd been injured for days, surviving only because of her puppy's loyalty. He lifted his radio again. "Dispatch, this is Unit 14. I have an injured adult German shepherd. Severe laceration to the front leg and possible hypothermia. I need animal control and emergency transport ASAP." His voice cracked as he looked at the puppy still nestled against his mother. "Please hurry," he whispered. The wind picked up again, whipping snow across the clearing and icy sheets. Reynolds pulled off his heavy jacket and laid it gently over the mother dog's shivering body. She let out a soft groan, her breath fogging weakly in the cold air. The puppy whimpered and pressed closer, tiny paws resting on her neck as if to keep her anchored to the world. Reynolds brushed a hand over the pup's back, feeling how thin he was beneath his patchy fur. "You're brave, little guy," he whispered. "You did good bringing me here." He scanned the empty road, praying to see headlights cutting through the dawn. But there was nothing, only the snow falling heavier by the minute. His gloved hand rested on the mother dog's side, feeling each labored rise and fall of her chest. Reynolds glanced down at the puppy again. The way it looked at him, trusting, pleading, sent a sharp ache through his heart. He knew the cold could take them both if help didn't come soon. He squeezed the radio, voice tight. "Dispatch, any update on ETA? The mother is failing fast." "Copy, Unit 14, the dispatcher replied. "Rescue team is en route. Hold tight." Reynolds swallowed hard and leaned close to the mother's ear. "Hang on," he murmured. "Your baby needs you." Snowflakes gathered on her whiskers as she closed her eyes, her breathing ragged but still fighting. Minutes felt like hours as Reynolds kept his hand pressed firmly over the mother dog's wound, trying to stem the bleeding. He could feel her strength waning with every shaky breath. The puppy wouldn't leave her side, nuzzling her muzzle and letting out the tiniest whimpers as if willing her to stay alive. At last the glow of headlights flickered between the trees. An animal control van crunched over the snow, followed by a truck from the local vet clinic. Relief flooded through Reynolds so suddenly his shoulders sagged. Two rescuers jumped out carrying a heated transport crate in thick blankets. "Officer, thank you for staying with her," one of them said, kneeling beside him. Together they worked quickly to slide the mother dog onto a padded stretcher. The puppy let out a panicked yelp when they started to lift her. He tried to scramble after her, his tiny paws slipping on the ice. Reynolds reached down and scooped him gently into his arms. "It's okay," he murmured, pressing the pup against his chest. "She's going to get help now." The rescuers secured the mother inside the warm crate, tucking blankets around her. One of them gave Reynolds a nod. "She's got a fighting chance," he said, as the puppy buried his face in Reynolds' jacket. The officer felt an unexpected sting behind his eyes. He hadn't expected this morning to become the most important call of his career. 3 days later, Officer Reynolds stood in the doorway of the small veterinary clinic, hand in hand. The warm air smelled of antiseptic and fresh straw. In the recovery room beyond the glass, the mother German shepherd lay on a clean blanket, her leg wrapped in fresh bandages. Her eyes fluttered open as Reynolds stepped inside. At her side the puppy lifted his head, tail thumping wildly the moment he recognized him. The vet smiled as she approached. "She made it," she said softly. "Thanks to you and her little hero here." Reynolds swallowed, the lump rising in his throat. He knelt beside them, resting a hand on the mother's head. She leaned weakly into his touch, a low rumble of gratitude vibrating in her chest. The puppy climbed into his lap without hesitation, licking his chin as if to say, "Thank you," in the only way he could. Reynolds looked up at the vet, voice quiet, but sure. "I've been thinking maybe it's time. They had a family who won't ever leave them behind." The vet's smile widened, and as the puppy curled against his heart and the mother closed her eyes in peace, Reynolds knew he was exactly where he was meant to